Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to explore how to use generative AI with SQL, a combination that can boost your productivity, improve your understanding, and make working with the databases a whole lot easier. SQL is one of the most important skills for working with the data, but writing complex queries, creating schemas, or even remembering the exact syntax can be time consuming, right? That is where generative AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or Copilot come into the picture. They can help you write, optimize, explain, or even teach SQL just from natural language prompts. In today's video, I will show you how to combine generative AI with SQL to make your work faster, smarter, and more efficient. Before we jump into SQL, let's quickly clear up some confusion. These terms, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, often get mixed up, but they are not the same thing. Let me try to explain it to you in a simple language with the proper examples. Artificial intelligence or AI is basically when a computer can do something that normally needs human thinking. For example, Google Maps figuring out the best route or your email automatically sending junk mail to the spam folder. Machine learning is a type of artificial intelligence that gets better with the experience. Instead of us giving it every rule, it learns from the experiences. It learns from the data that we give it to it. Think Netflix recommending shows based on what you have already watched, or a shopping site suggesting products because other people bought them too. Deep learning is a machine learning but supercharged one. It's great at spotting patterns in a big messy data like images or speech. That's how your phone unlocks with the Face ID, or how voice assistants like Alexa understand you even with the background noise. Generative AI is the creative one. It doesn't recognize or predict. It actually makes new things. That new things could be text, it could be images, audio or video, or even SQL code. For example, you might ask ChatGPT to write a SQL query for you, or you might ask Midjourney to make a picture from your idea. So I hope you now have understood what is the difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and the generative AI. Now, you might be wondering why bother mixing up SQL with generative AI? First, speed and productivity. Normally, you might spend 10 to 15 minutes of your time figuring out the right query, double checking syntax, and fixing the errors. With generative AI tools, you just describe what you want in a plain English, which is called as a prompt, and the generative AI tool will write the query in seconds. The second is better learning and understanding. If you are new to SQL or working with the really complex queries, you can ask AI or the generative AI tools to break it down step by step. And the third is the industry demand. Data related jobs nowadays don't just want people who know SQL, they want people who can also use the generative AI tools to work smarter. It's quickly becoming a standard skill, and knowing how to combine them will help you make stand out. Now, let us look at some of the use cases of generative AI with SQL. The first use case is auto-generate database schema. With the help of generative AI tools, you can easily generate database schemas within seconds. Okay, so let me show you the demonstration now. And for the demonstration, I will be using the ChatGPT. So, and the ChatGPT is currently using GPT-5 model underneath. So let us try to give it some input and let us try to generate the database schema. Okay, so I will be writing a prompt like create MySQL schema for an e-commerce platform with the table. So I'm also mentioning the tables to that. The tables I want the schema for the products table, customer table, let's say orders table, and one more table, let's say order items. Okay, so these are the four tables for which I want to generate the database schema. So it will try to create a database. See, the inference time is very faster, the response time is very faster. Within a second, the database schema the table structure is ready in front of me, right? See, it has created the database, it has created the table, and it has automatically considered the column which are relevant to that table, right? And it has also detected which column of that particular table can be primary key, okay, which can be the foreign key. Likewise, so if you scroll it down, you will be able to understand it has generated this very quickly and correctly also, right? So let me scroll it down and let me see. And it has also given you which table is holding what type of information, right? So this tool is really very powerful. Now let us look at the next use case of generative AI. The next use case is to insert a sample data, or you can say a mock data. So this generative AI tools can help you to generate a sample data for a practice purpose. So if you try to insert the data manually, it will take some time, right? So why not to take a help of these generative AI tools? So let me go to the chat GPT again and let me give it a prompt, that is a generate sample rows, or you can say sample 15 rows for customers table. Okay, now it will try to generate a sample rows, and these are the realistic sample rows, right, that you can insert. You can copy it from here, you can insert into that table called customers. Okay, so it has given you the script with the proper names, right? So see how fast it is, how easy it is to generate the sample data. Within seconds you are getting the output, right? Now let us look at the next use case. Next use case is to generate the views, stored procedures, and the functions. So you might ask the ChatGPT or any other generative AI tool that is present in the market to generate the views, or to generate a stored procedure, or to generate a function. It will generate that within a seconds. Okay, so let me go to the chat GPT and let's try to give it a prompt. Okay, so I will ask chat GPT to create a MySQL view. Okay, for called as top selling product. So top selling products is the name of that view. Okay, and what that view will do is that view will list the product names, that will list the product names, total sales, quantities sold, okay, etc. Okay, so that is the only thing I want, but I want to have a view getting generated called as a top selling products, right? So let me hit enter and let's see what this tool is trying to generate. Okay, so it has understood that it has to create a view called as a top selling products, and see, it is trying to generate it very quickly. Okay, see, it has generated the view, but for you to understand whether it is giving the correct answer or not, you must be familiar with the SQL concept first. So you should be very good at the foundations of MySQL or any other database that you are using, and then only you will be using these AI tools. These tools, keep in mind, these tools will improve your productivity, but you don't have to rely completely on these tools. Okay, so this is another use case of the generative AI with SQL. Let me go to the next use case. The next use case is the SQL query optimization. Okay, so what does that means is that sometimes your query works fine, okay, but it is very slow. Maybe it is pulling too much of the data, or it's using a method that makes database work harder than it should. So this generative AI can look at your query and might suggest you to make some changes to get the inferences faster. For example, if your query is checking a list of values using a subquery, the generative AI tool might suggest you replacing that subquery with a join, or adding right indexes to speed up the things. Okay, so that you might be getting the inferences faster. Okay, so that is the another use case. The next use case is to translate SQL across dialects. So when this use case will be of your use will be whenever you will be working on the migration project. So let's say in your current organization, you are using the MySQL as a relational database management system. But let's say your company decides to migrate to some other RDBMS, some other relational database management system. Let's say Postgres. So you will have to write the transfer that code from MySQL to Postgres SQL specific syntax, right? But that would take time for you. You will have to understand the syntax of Postgres SQL first. So in that case, the manual process would be time consuming, right? So why not to take help of the chat generative AI or any other generative AI tools that are present in market? in such scenarios. Okay, so let me go to the chat gpt and let me ask it to generate a sample query first, and then it will ask it to generate it or to convert it or to translate it into some other rdbms. Okay, so I will ask him to fetch the top 10 customers, or you can say top 5 customers also. You can give any numbers, top 10 customers who have spent most money. Okay, so that is my query that I want to find out who are the top 10 customers. So it will try to give me the answer. Okay, so this is the query for that. These are the top 10 customers. If you try to run this query, you will be getting the list of those customers, their id, their name, their email, and the total amount that they have spent. Okay, and it is performing some joins etc on that to get the information or to get the required result, right? So this query is specific to mysql, right? But what if I want to translate this particular query to SQL Server specific syntax? So I might ask this to translate this query to SQL Server specific syntax. Okay, and let's see what it is trying to do. Okay, so what it will do is it will try to convert that query into SQL Server specific syntax. So what is the change that you are able to see over here is, in the first query you are able to see in MySQL you will be able to use the limit clause or limit keyword, but in SQL Server you will not be able to use that keyword. Okay, so you will have to use the top keyword to get the top records. Okay, so in the TSQL, or you can say the SQL Server specific syntax, you will be using the top 10 or the top keyword, but MySQL specific you will be using the limit. Okay, so it is very helpful. These tools are very helpful for the migration projects when you will be trying to convert the specific syntax from one rdbms to another. Okay, now let me go to the next use case, which is to explain SQL in a plain English. So you can ask the ChatGPT or other generative AI tools to explain what that query is doing. Okay, so let me try to ask it what the above query is doing. Explain what above query does. Okay, so it will try to give me the breakdown of that query, what this query is trying to do. Okay, so it will explain me step by step what we have added in the first step, what is this customers, what, why we are using the joins. Okay, why we are using the group by. It is giving you all the steps clearly. Okay, so see how powerful it is. So this is the another use case of generative AI with SQL. And let us look at the next use case, which is to add the comments. Okay, so there is some requirement to add the comments for the documentation purpose. Then you can take help of the generative AI tools for the productivity purpose. Okay, so I will go to the chat gpt and I might ask him to add the clear comments to above SQL script, or you can say about SQL query also. So it will try to add comment, and wherever you will find different difficult to understand what that particular clause is doing, you can understand it by referring to the comment that it has added at the top. Okay, so see how powerful it is. This generative AI tools are very powerful, and these are not only the use cases, there are multiple use cases too, but I have covered some important use cases, and that's how you can use combine the SQL with the generative AI to work faster, learn better, and stay ahead in your career. Remember, the goal here is not to let the generative AI tools do all the work for you. You don't have to rely on those, but you have to just take help from them. It is like a smart assistant for you. So you have to take help from them. You just don't have to completely rely on these tools. Okay. So thanks for watching till here, and I will see you in the next one.